Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another episode and the beginning of a new series for Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. Yes, indeed. So, as I hinted at in a vlog I did a little while ago, we are starting off a new series of episodes here where we will be taking a look at all the different components of Capcom Arcade Cabinet, which is a pretty neat compilation package of Capcom arcade titles that has actually been out for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 for a little while now. But one of the things that we're going to be discussing here is, well, it came out with kind of a bit of an odd business model, and that's why I've waited until this time to talk about it. So, one little piece of housekeeping here. You're going to notice that 2 episodes came out today. This first episode that we're doing here is going to be talking about the sort of package as a whole. So we're going to be talking about this little interface that they give you, as well as a lot of the different customization options the game has, and the various different ways in which you can acquire the titles within this package. Some people, especially if you're big into old school stuff and emulation the way I am, will find this interesting, but I also appreciate that a lot of people won't. So what I'm doing is I'm actually recording 2 videos today, which is this one and then another video which will be the first game in the series, and I'm putting them both out at the same time. So if you're not interested in the sort of under the hood nuts and bolts of this series, totally understandable. There should be an annotation on screen right now that will allow you to jump to the first game in the compilation, so feel free to do that. But if you're into the nitty-gritty, then let's get into that, shall we? So yeah, this has actually been out for a little while. This game was distributed in a really friggin' strange way. I mean, Capcom is known for doing a lot of things in an experimental fashion, and just for being kind of weird in general when it comes to a lot of the ways they do business. And this is no exception. So this package originally came out as a series of game packs that included usually 3 titles in each. Actually, in fact, I think every pack was 3 titles, and they came out piecemeal. So the first package, which came out along with this wrapper, was released on February 19th and 20th of this year, and it came with 1 game in that pack. The way this worked is you could either buy the games piecemeal as you wanted them, so one off if you liked. You could buy them in packs, which gave you a discount on the package, the 3 games that were included in said package. Or you could do what I did, which is that if you waited until the weekend of May the 21st, you could buy the entire kit and caboodle, all 17 games, including there's 2 bonus games in this pack that were only released to people who bought all the other 15 games. And you could buy the all-in-one pack for $30 or 2,000 Microsoft points and get everything at once, which was far and away the best value. So this model was really strange. I don't know why. Was that they were going to do it where they were like, hey, if people are really, really into this stuff and they really want these older titles right now, I don't know how big a market they thought that was, but okay. They thought, well, we'll get some front-loaded, bigger cash out of these people now, and then everyone else who just wants everything will jump in and pay a smaller amount later, but we'll sort of tap everything. I'm very curious to know how that worked out for them. I'm guessing probably not that well, but who's to say, right? I think it was kind of a dumb way to do this. I would really have rathered they put out the all-in-one pack from the beginning for people who are willing to, in kind of a season pass kind of way, like they do with AAA titles, where it's like, put down less money now and get the whole thing because you're an enthusiast who wants in on the ground floor. But they didn't do that, and for that reason, that's why I'm kind of late to the party in covering this. I can't justify paying basically AAA price for 15 arcade games. That's an unbelievable ripoff. To be frank about it, even at $30, like, I don't feel ripped off paying that package price because I'm into this stuff. But if you're not a really big enthusiast, I don't see how most people are going to find $30 for 17 old arcade games to be justified. Now, as we will get into, this wrapper package that this thing comes with actually has a crazy number of customization options, and this is clearly a love letter to these things. This series was, or this package was developed by Gotch Technology, but also by M2, who is a developer, a Japanese developer that's actually been around for a little while, but has done almost exclusively either emulation packages or reinterpretations of old titles for modern systems. This is what they do. And these guys clearly love it and are extremely good at it. But yeah, I don't know who Capcom thought they were appealing to with this, because $30 will only appeal to hardcore enthusiasts, in my opinion. And the thing is, I don't condone piracy, but hardcore enthusiasts know how to do emulation. And if you can emulate a bunch of this stuff for free without too much more difficulty, you know, why would you pay $30 for something with a better wrapper? I understand that time and money is required to make this package come together, and I'm sure math was done somewhere where they went, this is what we need to charge in order to make this thing viable. But I don't know, maybe the business model just isn't there for this. I mean, I hope this did well, because I love this stuff and I want to see more of this stuff come out. But I don't know, the business model's a little strange. For me personally, this was worth $30. You're going to have to make your own value judgment, of course. But yeah, I don't know, it's a little expensive. Anyway, so let's get into this here. Now, as I was saying before, this package is clearly designed by people who love this stuff and who know what this people want. So you're going to see here, I'm starting this completely cold. I have screwed around with this a little bit, but in order to show you the proper out-of-the-box experience, I deleted the save. So the game is acting as if I have never run it before, and there's a reason for that, which you'll see. So we're going to create a new save file. Now, the other little thing to note here is if you want to buy the all-in-one pack on the Xbox 360, only on the Xbox 360, because of the way Microsoft's stupid Xbox Live policies work, you can't just buy the all-in-one downloadable DLC thing. You can do that on PlayStation Network, apparently. But the way you have to do it on here is that you have to buy the all-in-one pack and then also buy the first game pack, which is basically the unlocked version of the Xbox Live arcade game. So, like, if you download a trial version of a game and unlock it, you have to do that and buy the all-in-one pack. It does work out to the same amount of money, so you're not paying anymore. It's just a weird, convoluted process, and that's because of the way Xbox Live does things. And it's dumb, but that's how it is. It's easier on PlayStation. I bought this on Xbox mostly because I like the Xbox controller better, and because, well, if I have the choice between achievements and trophies, I'll take achievements. That's just me. As I understand it, this package is perfectly fine on either system. What I would have really loved to have seen, to be honest with you, is a PC version of this. I don't know why they didn't do that. There are emulation packages on Steam. Like, this would have been so easy to do. And M2 has done a couple of PC games before. Like, seriously, Capcom, do that. I'd maybe buy this again on Steam. To have this stuff on my laptop at my lunch hour would be friggin' awesome. But anyway, so by not having a save file and starting it up, you're going to get these little tutorial messages, which is really helpful. It sort of guides you through the interface, and you can see some stuff. The interface is actually pretty good on this, but we're going to go through it in detail here. So this is just giving me a bunch of bonus. There's a lot of unlockable stuff, galleries, and, you know, the usual things you see as cheap unlockables in games. It's cool. It doesn't matter much to me, but it's kind of neat. Because I bought it, I get a bunch of unlocks for free, which, because I had no save, it's forgotten that I had. So it's just like, hey, look at all this cool stuff you got. And that's all right. And then it also said, hey, look, you bought the full package, so you get the 2 bonus games, which is Vulgus and 1943 Kai. So we'll go to those eventually. So here's the main menu, and this is kind of a neat little thing here. So you see this art picture that we've got here. So there is an image in this collage that is representative of each game in the series, and it's kind of neat. This picture fills in depending on what you've bought. So if you've only bought some stuff, you'll see like only portions of the collage fill in to represent what you've purchased, which I think is kind of neat. That's kind of cool. And this is a really neat photo. Like, this would actually make a really nice like background wallpaper for your PC or something. I think it's pretty neat. And there's 2 views in here when you want to take when you want to pick your game. So you can just go through it like this. You can see the titles are scrolling across the top there, or you can switch to what's called the history view. And that's this here. So check game information and switch between your purchased games. Game icons are listed by release date in order for you to see the order they came out in. So this is kind of neat. You got this little matrix here that's like, hey, here's all the different stuff. Here's when it came out, the periods in the year in which it came out. I presume these are ordered in the order in which they came out in 1986, for example. And it's just sort of a quick way to access everything you've got. However, this is the one part where I feel this package really falls flat. So let's just select Vulgus, for example. That is craptacular history. And that's all there is. And most of the games just have something like this. It's just got a little tiny factoid. It's like the first paragraph of its Wikipedia entry, essentially. That's a real shame. I mean, if this is a package that's designed to appeal to enthusiast people, it really should have more detailed stuff in it. I mean, this is one of the things I really love about the Pinball Arcade, which is a series I haven't talked about yet, but it is a similar package to this that's focused around recreating historical pinball tables. And in the Pinball Arcade, they have a very detailed history section that gives a really nice, well-written blurb about each table and the people who made them and the motivations behind them and everything else, which is really, really cool. And a lot of them even have things like the original arcade flyers and sell sheets that were sent to arcade operators going, hey, this is why you should buy this thing. And I mean, as a big nostalgia guy, you know, who's really into this stuff from a historical perspective, that's really fascinating, right? And if you're releasing a package like this that, you know, younger people, hopefully the younger people who are watching the series perhaps, if you're releasing a package full of games that these younger people have no nostalgia for and no real appreciation of, if you're going to get them to play it, they might want to learn about it. And hardcore retro enthusiasts like myself probably are going to want to just see more about the games that they really like. Like, you know, I played Vulgus before, but I actually don't know much about it. I did know it was Capcom's first ever game, but that's kind of the limit of what I know about it. And it would have been a really easy thing, because Capcom does still have a lot of original people still there. It would have been very cool to talk to those people and go, hey, you know, let's get some more information and do a little proper write-up. I really think that's something, you know, that's not going to matter to a lot of people, but I think they really kind of bombed on that, which is a shame. But that's kind of that's the major deficiency of this package, and it's a deficiency for certain people, but by and large, it's not that bad, right? So, but this is kind of cool, and beyond that, the options in this package are insane, and I'll show you why. So, this is pretty incredible. So, we're going to bring this up here. So, the neat thing about this, I'm going to tell you, number one, is that a number of the two-player games in this collection do have Xbox Live or PSN online play, which is really, really cool. To be honest with you, I would not have expected that. Wrapping online play into some of these old ROMs is actually a much harder thing to do than it might sound, and getting that working can be a real trick, because these games, most of these games came out before the internet was ever really a thing, and actually everything in this package did, I think. So they were, you know, the concept of lag and latency and all those things was just not a thought in anybody's mind, so it was really tricky to figure all that stuff out, and they made it work as far as I know. I haven't actually tried it yet. I don't know anyone else who owns this package, unfortunately, so it may be tricky for me to do that, but I am going to attempt to give it a shot at some point. Local play is all I would have expected, and obviously that's there too, but that they included online play for certain titles is a very nice touch, and if it works well, that's even better. So that's pretty cool. So when you go into each individual game, this is what you get. So you've got Arcade, which is literally play the game. You've got Gallery, and Gallery, so here you go. View bonus pictures and save replays and listen to audio files for each game. So to unlock various things, you have to meet certain little challenge milestones in each game. And when you do that, you will unlock different images and different things like that. You can also record replays of every game that you're playing, and you can save them and view them again later. Again, very nice feature, especially if you're someone who's trying to get really good at a certain game, especially from a score attack perspective. That is a really nice thing to have, and it works very well, I will say. So you can also upload stuff to Facebook if you're one of those people, and you really shouldn't be. But yeah. So there's 2 galleries in here, which is kind of weird. So you've got the main gallery. Because I haven't played anything, nothing's unlocked. But you see it gives you your conditions here, right? So clear stage 1, 2, 3, clock in 30 minutes, 90 minutes, a lot, and then clear stage 3. So there's various different conditions to meet for that. And then these extra galleries they're just secondary things which are for the crazy hardcore, like 20 hours of playtime across all titles, 25 hours across all titles. I like this collection a lot. I'm going to play it a lot. 25 hours? Woo! I don't know. That's going to be probably pretty tough. So, here are some different images that are included as well. This is kind of cool. Let's just bring some of these other ones up here. Some of these are like interesting manuals and things like that. This is kind of cool. I would have liked to have seen this woven into that history section a little bit more. These are not original arcade manuals either. And obviously they're in Japanese, so I can't read them. I'm sure some people out there can, but I mean, it's neat. You know what? The more of this content they want to put in, stuff like this, the better. I'm not going to fault them for putting stuff in it. It's just, it doesn't feel very well put together or it doesn't gel very well, which is kind of unfortunate. So here's your replay viewer. If you've got replays, which I don't, I'll be showing you that. We'll do a little test. As I said, this episode is not going to be focused on any one game, but I will play a little bit of one of the games just to show you how replays and stuff works. Also, hey guys, remember sound test mode from old games? Yeah. Yeah. They have all that in here. Vulgus does not have a very wide assortment of tracks to it, unfortunately. But it's neat. You know, you can add this stuff in, and it's pretty cool. You can actually make playlists, so you can do stuff like that later. Like, it's stuff that a very small number of people are going to use to any meaningful degree, but they nonetheless put the effort in, and they were like, hey, you know what? We got this thing here. We're going to do this because why not? It's cool. And that, I give them credit for that. You know, that's really cool. Excuse me, just needed a swig of coffee there. And, of course, it would not be an Xbox Live Arcade game without leaderboards. This is really cool. You can really select a lot of different things. Like, there's leaderboards for just about anything you can think of here, and you can really filter stuff down, which I really think is cool. And I really like that. Only thing about the leaderboard stuff here, as you're going to see, is it's a little laggy. It's it has to load each page, which is kind of unfortunate, but it actually is fairly fast. Some live arcade games are really bad for this, but this is actually pretty zippy, so it's not too bad. And you can filter by the difficulty, whether it's just you or your friends, and also the version of the game. Something else we're going to get into. And of course there are Chivos. Oh, Chivos. So Chivos is Chivos, right? There are a couple of different achievements for each game, and also a couple for the base. Actually, more than a couple, several for the base arcade cabinet. So you see I'm just picking through these here. Because I just started this package today, I actually haven't earned any of these yet. I will, there's no doubt about that, from playing these. But none of them are particularly crazy. There's a few in here that could be pretty brutally hard, but most of them are not too hard, and they're mostly just rewarding you for playing and putting some time into it, which is good. I think that's cool. You know, some of them are tough, like Clear Stage 8 on Commando. Like, you know, that's gonna be tricky, but I like that. I think they're pretty well designed. So if you're into achievements and trophies, you've got plenty there to keep you busy, right? Now, this is where we get to the meat of the sandwich. So, just various settings. This is nuts. I'm just going to put this out there. This is crazy. So, let's just go first. So, how to play. This is neat. It does give you the basics of each game. Not as nice as the original arcade manual, but the arcade manual also, a lot of the manuals for arcade boards back in the day were not exactly well translated or very thorough in their descriptions, so this is actually probably better. But it really breaks everything down, which is really nice. Like, it goes through all the power-ups, goes through the controls, goes through the UI, and it's like, yeah, take a look at all this stuff. I like that. It's nicely done. Kind of ugly color scheme, but what are you going to do? And this is actually just the manual for Capcom Arcade Cabinet itself, so for the base package that we're looking at here. You can access this from every game, just gives you a bit of a run around on how everything works. But again, you know, do most people care about this? Probably not. But it goes through every single element, gives you lots and lots of different bits of information. If you want it, it's there. I'm not going to fault them for, you know, better to put in too much than not enough, right? So, hey, good on you guys. So, now, this is going to be fun. So, the level of customizability that this package offers you is beyond bonkers. We're going to start with the controls. PC gamers are going to like this. Fully rebindable everything. This is not all that common on console games. If they allow you to change your controls at all, they usually only allow you to change between certain presets. Nope. This is like, hey, you want to change every button and where it's done to, you go right ahead. They got presets, as you can see. Even has stuff for arcade sticks. I actually have a Street Fighter 4 arcade stick, which actually Styles still has. I gotta get that back from him. But yeah, and it will have that. And this is what's nuts. Like, you can change the auto fire rate if you want to use an auto fire button, which, as I talked about in my Raiden Legacy video, if you want to play the games the way they were intended, you shouldn't use auto fire, because that's kind of, I mean, it is cheating, but also it's not really the way they meant it to be played. But if you want to do that because it's easier for you, you can. And you can change how, basically the frequency of how often the game auto taps the button for you. Like, that is insane. It's incredible. And I absolutely love that. You can change these here. You can bind multiple buttons to the same function if you want. So you see they've done that here. And you see I can bind like everything I want to do canon if I want. I don't know why I'd want to do that, but I can do it, and it lets me do it, and that's awesome. I really like that. And of course, you bone things up, you just go back to normal. But this level of customizability is just frankly astonishing to me. I think this is really, really cool. And you can do individual bindings for each player. So if you're playing a two-player game and you don't, you know, each of you has your own preferences, no problem. Just go do it. That's great. I really, really like that. And I will give mega kudos where they're due, because that is very cool. You even see there's an insert credit button. The games can be played on free-to-play, or if you want that true experience, again, you can actually make the games require you to credit up, which, of course, you do by just pressing a button. You don't have to put real money in your console. Well, wouldn't that be funny? But yeah, you have the option to do that if you want. You can make the experience as authentic as you want. This is another reason why I think this collection would have done so well on PC, because if you are, you know, a PC retro enthusiast who maybe has a MAME cabinet or something like that, imagine being able to just load this up and bind everything into the way your MAME cabinet's arcade controls are set up. Like, this would be a dream scenario for someone who has one of those things, and I bet Capcom would make a decent number of sales on PC if they were to do that. I'm really hoping that maybe once this has run its course on the consoles, they'll just come along as they've done in the past and one day just go, hey, remember that game we put out a little while ago on consoles? Yeah, we're dropping it on Steam, and enjoy. That would be great. I think if anybody from Capcom is watching, seriously, dudes, you put this on PC, there is a niche audience who will be frothing to give you money for it. I guarantee it. I'll buy it again if you put it on PC. I'll put my money down if you do that. So that's the controls. Now it gets even crazier. So we go into the general settings menu, and holy crap, this is stunning. So first off, game options. check this out. Again, you have presets. You got your normal, your hard, your crazy person, or you can custom it. Set your number of lives. It's not customizable to the degree where you can just say, hey, I want 99 lives or something like that, but nonetheless, it's adjustable. Your extend. Extend in Japanese gaming is basically the idea of how many points do you have to get before you get an extra life. You can change that. So, again, it's not infinitely customizable. You can't specify, you know, I want a free life every 2 points or something like that, but it gives you options. So as you can see here, first at 30,000, second at 70,000. They're kind of a weird combination, but they nonetheless are there, and you know, allows you to really feather the configuration of the game to be what you're looking for. Pretty cool. This is during what's called demo mode, or track mode. A track mode in an arcade game is when the game was running in an arcade, but no one was playing it. So anyone who knows anything about arcades has seen that before. The game, I used to call it when I was a kid, when my parents didn't want to give me money for the arcade, I was going to go, okay, I'm just going to go watch the games play themselves. And that's kind of what it is. It's just a little pre-recorded loop that the game plays to go, hey, here's what this looks like. You might want to come up and put some money in it. So you can either have that play with sound or not. Most arcade games had the option for the operators to either have it play sound or not, depending on the environment that it was in. So you can change that. Similar thing, you can have it play music or not if you want. This is really neat. So a lot of arcade games had versions for multiple territories. And a lot of them had different companies release them in different areas of the world. So, for example, there was a company, there were several of them, but there was one company in the US called Romstar, and there was another one called Fabtech. And what they did is they actually used to license games from a lot of Japanese companies, translate them, and put them out in the North American market, and they would take a chunk of the sales of those games. They would basically be like, hey, you're a small Japanese company, you don't have the resources to release stateside, so we're going to do it for you. So there were often different versions, and sometimes these versions would not only have different languages in them, but sometimes the mechanics between different versions would change, the conditions for scoring. Some of them even had additional levels or additional bosses. Some of them had different weapon configurations, balance changes, things like that. And every game in this collection that has had multiple versions, you can choose your multiple versions. So you can play the original Japanese version or the international version. In some cases, there were also Japanese, North American, and European versions. And you have that option. Again, did not have to do that. I would not have expected that from them, because it's basically a whole second version of the game they have to put into this package. But again, they did it. And that they give you the choice is so incredibly amazing. I love it. I love that. Again, credit insertion. Do you want to have to credit in to play or not? Or just put it on free play? Very nice. I'm going to go back to defaults again. Next up, screen settings. This is not as well done as I would like it to be. Not for lack of options, but the fact that as you change things, you get the preview, right, of what your mode is going to look like, but the menu covers it. So you're kind of squinting to look behind this dark shaded menu to try to see what it is you're doing. That's kind of weird. I don't know why they just didn't put in a button here where they're like, hey, press this button to hide the menu so you can see what you're doing while you're changing stuff, or press and hold, you know, a trigger or something in order to see what's going on behind the scenes. That's weird. I don't know why they did that. It's pretty strange. So basically, if you want to do that, you got, and that's the thing, you see there's no preview, so if you change options, you get a quick look at it there before it goes back, and then the only other way to see it is to start playing it. I don't get it. That's weird. But again, you have some presets here. So you have your normal, your classic, which basically turns on scan lines, which makes it look more like the old CRT tube monitors that arcade cabinets ran on. You also have smoothing, which... oh, pardon me, throat's getting dry again. You also have smoothing, which basically see, smooth out the display or the game screen. It just applies a little filter that theoretically makes the graphics look a little bit softer and more modern. It's supposed to make them look better on modern displays like the TV that I'm running on here. Some people like this, some people really, really don't. Some people think it creates a weird distortion effect. I don't mind it in some cases and I do in others, so it's kind of a personal preference thing. Again, I'm glad they left it in here. If you'll have to play with it and see what you like. So you can do that. You know, positioning, like, so here you go. This is kind of okay. So you can get, if you go into position mode, you can get your preview, I guess. It's still kind of not ideal, but it works at least, so it lets you do that. But yeah, like, why you'd want to do this, I don't know, but you want to move the screen to a crazy whacked out position on the screen? Want to play Vulgus like that? Why the hell not? Sure. But yeah, it's there. You can do it. Why not? So, aspect ratio. This is kind of neat, but also, again, kind of weird. These were 4:3 games. Widescreen did not exist back in the day. But you can ratio out the screen mode. You can basically have it stretch it and adjust it to certain aspect ratios. If you are playing this in a very specialized fashion, there might be a reason to do that. I don't really see what it is. But you can also say auto, which just basically will handle all that for you. So you see there's also multiple screen modes here. So there's normal, there's fine, which is stretched out a little bit more. Here, let's put this back to normal so we don't have the scan lines. There's full screen, stretches out a little bit more, actually causes overscan in my case. And there's full, which is bananas. So full is, yeah, let's make this thing that was not at all designed to fill your screen. Yeah, why would you want to do that? I have no clue whatsoever, but the option, again, is there. And then there's also dot by dot. So dot by dot, I'm not actually 100% sure what this is. It does look like a bit of a different aspect ratio, but I don't know, that's kind of weird. And then, of course, custom. Let's play Vulgus like this. Let's play Vulgus like this. Or like this. Because sure. Yeah, I don't get it either, but hey. It's really neat, and there's some neat tech that makes that possible, I think. You can also you can change your wallpaper in the background. This is nice. A lot of arcade collections don't actually allow you to do this, or if they do at all, it's literally just on or off. You actually have multiple options here. So you have the default arcade cabinet style. I like this the most because it actually has some, as you've seen there, it has a little bit of art related to the collection. It's kind of cool. Characters, and there's also character set 1 in this case, which is kind of the background from the main thing. This is a little bright, little distracting, for me at least, so I don't think I'd use it, but your mileage may vary, so that's kind of cool. Now this, again, oh my god, put this on PC, guys, for the love of God, because this right here, this is a hardcore enthusiast thing right here. So a lot of games like Vulgus were vertically oriented. And what that means is that the monitor in the cabinet was actually not rotated on its sideways horizontally like most TVs are. They actually turned it 90 degrees so that you were looking at a TV that was high rather than wide. And that's what allowed you to get the best aspect ratio when you were playing a vertically oriented game. There are a lot of home arcade cabinet guys who actually have cabinets where the monitor can be rotated. So instead of playing Vulgus, for example, in this thing, where you can see it just fine, but you have to play it in a kind of squished manner because you're taking a vertically oriented game and displaying it on a horizontal screen on the short axis, what you can do is you could rotate it, and then what you would do is take your TV, go rotate it 90 degrees, and all of a sudden you're playing a vertically oriented game when it's taking up the majority of the screen instead of only a small section of it. I don't own my own cabinet. One day I hope to, maybe, but this is designed for that kind of use. And the guys who do that generally do it through PCs in their cabinets. And I would absolutely love to see Capcom do this. It is not exactly easy to take my 42-inch plasma and rotate it 90 degrees. And in fact, I think that breaks plasmas. So yeah, it would be really... This is a feature that is very cool if you're someone who's way into this and maybe has your TV on some kind of rotating mechanism. Oh, but this would just be perfect on PC. I have a monitor on my desk that can be rotated 90 degrees. And it would be so easy for me if I want to play Vulgus. Just take my monitor, spin it, and away I go. Telling you, Capcom, you're missing out. So you can rotate this a number of different ways. I don't know why your monitor would need that, but whatever. Similarly, you can do this with the menus too. So that if you're playing this... So that if you're playing this game on a setup that you've implemented a rotating screen, you don't have to twist your head around to be able to see the menus. Very cool. Yup. So that's the screen stuff. Next up is the sound stuff. Look at this. There's a bloody equalizer. An equalizer! I don't think I've ever seen this anywhere before in a video game. That's insane! And it's... Oh my god, the detail is bonkers. Like, I don't know anyone who would actually use this, but someone wrote the routine to do it. If that just doesn't scream passion for their content, I don't know what does. And again, there's presets. So you see here, it's boosting this up. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of sound equalization with you right now, but basically this allows you to just change how the game sounds. You can boost low frequencies like the bass, you can boost high frequencies like the treble, and you can make the game sound a lot different depending on your setup. This is beyond hardcore. I mean, this is just incredible. And they have, and yeah, classic. So basically what classic is here, this is probably attempting to emulate how the game sounded on the original cabinet. Most arcade cabinets had pretty weak speakers in them. In many cases, they were actually just car speakers, like car stereo speakers, and they didn't sound very good for the most part. They were very tinny. A lot of them didn't have a lot of bass, and a lot of them were mono sound, not stereo. And you can see that this classic thing, I believe, is trying to emulate that sound. So it will sound very tinny, and it won't be terribly good. But that's how the cabinet sounded. You want the original experience, you can do it. You kick up the bass, you can do things your own way, you can kick up the treble, you can do a general boost of everything small, a boost that's large. Like, that's amazing. I mean, I have a fairly decent home theater system. I don't need to play with this stuff, and neither will most people, I don't think, but this is incredible that this is here. I am so impressed with this. I'm going to screw around with this at some point for sure. I want to see how some of these profiles sound at least. And yeah, change it from stereo to mono if you want. Pretty neat. I'm really impressed that they put this in here. So that's the sound stuff. And then you can change how the game saves things. So autosave is basically just saving anything like high score tables, things like that. So you can have it do that automatically if you want, or not. You can have it, you can manually save and load if you have autosave turned off. I don't really know a lot of use cases for this, but maybe if you were like playing on a friend's copy and didn't, he wanted to maintain his high score tables for his own use or something like that, I guess you could use it for that. I don't know why, but you can also just do a wipe and reset of all the player data, which is very cool. Auto record replays, so you have the option to, when you play a game, to record a replay. As I said, you can do that if you like. You can have the game automatically do it, or you can do it on demand. Also nice. And that's the majority of it. Beyond that, you can adjust all those settings, and then this there's credits here. This is credits for the entire collection, not for the individual games. So it's the same credit roll regardless. But as you can see, like I said before, these guys at M2 clearly love this stuff, and they are really about giving people the most flexible love letter of an experience that they can. And I will give all hats off to them. That is very, very impressive. The amount of options in there are more than I ever would have asked for. And like, I'm way into this stuff. I'm kind of a, you know, I'm a retro snob, and I would never have expected a bloody equalizer. Like, no, I never would have asked for that. The ability to adjust the screen size to make it crazy, wacky to the point of being unplayable. I would never have asked for that. But they did it anyway, and they were just like, who knows? Maybe you'd want to do that. We don't know. Why not? That's very, very cool. And you can do that to every game in this collection. I think that's really, really great. So, we're not going to be actually playing a full game in this video, as I said. And this video is already getting really, really long. So, I'm just going to show you the various different ways in which each title can be played. Again, this is also very, very neat. So you see here, play various game modes, select start game to replicate the original experience. Score attack is a mode where you're specifically trying to beat scores from all over the world. I think virtually every game, if not every game in this collection, does have a score element to it, which is cool. There's also training, and there's also casual mode. This is very, very cool in and of itself. So if you want to play normally, you just hit start. I like the fact as well, as you can see there at the bottom, that they, despite the fact that this is the old thing, they put the little nod into the fact that this is from the collection, where they actually said, hey, this was written in 1984, but it was also, it says like 1984, 2013 as the copyright, which I think is a neat little thing. They didn't have to do that, but they just went in and did that little modification. But I think that also shows the lengths to which M2 has gone with this collection, because to do that means they actually would have had to go into the original ROM code for the game and either inject something to replace that, or to, you know, they would have actually had to modify the original game code in order to do that, and probably to incorporate some of the elements of the collection as well. And that is above and beyond what most people do for emulation packages. Most of these packages are just, hey, let's take a bunch of old games, throw a menu on them, maybe a couple of little options, and drop it out for a bunch of money, and away we go. But these guys really put some love into this. You can tell that, much like the Pinball Arcade, you can tell that this is a package that was put together with a lot of love for the source material. So I kind of boned that on purpose. So I completed that, and now, we're, I want to back out, let's say. We can look at the leaderboards, achievements, and the help and options. Now this is help and options for the collection as a whole, not for the individual games. So you want to change settings for the game, you do have to back out. But what I can also do now is I can save a replay. So I have my god-awful playthrough here. So the replay has been saved. So we can either back out now that we've done that, or we can continue playing while the recording continues. Well, let's back out. So there we go. And now, with that, we can go into this gallery, and we can say, show me this replay. And there it is. So there's the playback index up top. So it's showing everything I did. You can, much like a, you know, a recording, you can speed it up, you can slow it down if you want. It's pretty neat. So you can zip forward to certain milestones in it if you want. This is the part I really like. Check this out. Actually showing you real-time inputs from the controller. So if you're trying to really perfect your playthrough of a certain game, you can actually watch how you were playing it, because most people don't, you know, they're playing off muscle memory. They don't know what their control inputs are when they're playing a game. But in this will actually show you what you were doing, and you can actually see what you were doing on the controller at the time you died. And that is, again, incredible attention to detail. I really think that's neat. You can also move its placement around if you want, which is really cool. And if you're one of those types of people who needs to share everything with the world. So you can do your frame-by-frame playback here. You can also, hang on, I'm trying to just keep that, I'm just trying to keep that UI up here. So you can also do things like, if you must, you can upload to Facebook. I don't know why you would want to do that. I don't use Facebook. I haven't used it in years, but yeah, this just seems like a bit of a spammy thing to do. But I guess if you're in circles of people who circles, that's a Google Plus reference. But if you run with groups of people on Facebook who are into this stuff, it would probably be cool to be able to upload some stuff in that regard. I guess I don't know. And yeah, you can easily modify your replays and delete them and things like that. So you can also select your storage. I don't know if you can have multiple batches of replays on multiple storage devices. I'm going to say probably not, but you can change that on the fly as well, which is nice. And again, there's the sound player, which we went over before. So the other ways you can play this are score attack, training, and casual mode. So this is the mode that you're going to go into if you really want to compete on the leaderboards. And the cool part about this, as you can see, if you achieve the highest ranking, replay data of your performance will automatically be uploaded. So it's a chance to both show off and for people to be able to keep each other honest by saying, hey, this guy got this crazy high score. We're going to upload his replay so that you can see how he did it. Because unfortunately, in a lot of Xbox Live Arcade games, there are a lot of people who get obscenely, realistically, unattainably high scores on leaderboards because they either outright cheated or they took advantage of some glitch in the game or whatever to cheese their way up to an unobtainable score. And this is what's neat about this, is because if you place the best, it's gonna make you upload your replay so that people can watch it and go, hey, did this dude do it honestly? That's cool. I like that. Because again, if you're gonna be playing this collection, you probably take scores and high scores pretty seriously. As you should, you know, serious business that. And that will allow the person to demonstrate that they can play the game honestly. And I really like that. And there's multiple difficulty modes for score attack as well, which is nice. You're not stuck to doing it in a certain way. So I really like that. I think that's a really nice setup. And you see here as well, if people have uploaded replays for something that's on the leaderboards, you can see that. So let's take a look at BBS Stig. Sure. Replays download crazy quick because they're just little scripts. It's not downloading a video, it's just downloading like basically a gameplay script that says, hey, here's what the guy did. It's basically downloading all of his inputs, and then it's just running them through the emulated code, which is really cool. So we can actually watch this dude. So he's got a 10-minute replay. And like, look how quickly that started. 10-minute replay, and it started in seconds. And similar to our own replays, you know, we can zip around if we like. And we can show his inputs too. I think that's awesome. I really, really like that. Gorgeous attention to detail. And you can actually save his replay out. So if you want to reference it later for how to maybe improve your own game, you can do that. Totally unnecessary. No one would have asked for that, most likely. Most games don't do that, but they did it because they're cool. I like that. So, that's all score attack is. You're playing the same thing, doing it for that reason. So, this allows you, yeah, training is essentially a stage select mode. There's nothing I can really do here because I haven't played enough of this to unlock additional stages, but it allows you to play, you know, later sections of a game to get better at them without having to go through the whole thing. That's cool as well. I like that. Some people who are into high score competition and stuff might think that's cheating a little bit because that's not the way it was meant to be done, but whatever. So I like that. That's all that is. And then there's casual mode. So if you're just interested in just chilling out, or you want to show this off to a family member or whatnot who is not into these games and can't appreciate them and doesn't want to play them on the original, because let's be honest here, these are arcade games. Arcade games were designed to suck your money, and they were very hard in most cases as a result, to the point where most people, especially in this day and age, would be very intimidated by them. So if you don't want to do that, you can go into casual mode. And casual mode, whoops, screwed that up. Casual mode allows you to fine-tune the living hell out of how the game works. So it's weird here. So by pressing A on casual mode, it just starts the game. So if you want to edit options, you actually have to hold the back button and press A, which is a little strange. I presume it's the select button and square, or sorry, not square, X on the PS3 to do that. But this is, so these are very sort of nebulous sounding options, but it goes in and modifies core, like this is basically ROM hacking, which is really, really cool. And this shows you why M2 had to really go into the actual code for a lot of these games, because you're basically doing, if anybody remembers back on the NES, the Game Genie. The Game Genie was a device, it was a cheater device that you could use with your NES. You basically plug the Game Genie into your NES and then plug your cartridge into that. And it allowed you, through entering a bunch of codes, to basically, and it would intercept the game code and hack it to allow you to do all kinds of really wacky stuff with the game that it was not designed to do. And that's essentially what casual mode in this package is. It allows you to modify certain core gameplay mechanics and elements in order to make the game, well, easier and more casual. And it's really neat, and it's really, really granular what it does. So you can just say, hey, give me more lives. How many more? We're not really going to say, but we're going to give you more. Tweak collision detection. It's easier to hit the enemy and easier to evade their attacks. This basically changes what's called the hitbox. The hitbox is the invisible area around yourself and every enemy that says, if a bullet comes within this area, it counts as a hit. If it does not come within this area, it doesn't count as a hit. This tweaks it so that that box is bigger around the enemies and smaller around you. So it makes it just easier to hit things without super accuracy. Speed boost, pretty self-explanatory. Your guy moves faster. Special item effects. So there are power-up items in Vulgus. If you pick them up, it will trigger extra special things may happen. So maybe it's invulnerability. Maybe it's like every bullet you fire is a bomb instead of your regular gun, something like that. And then there's tweak difficulty, which basically just adjusts the game difficulty up or down. These options vary. They're game specific, so they vary depending on the game that you're playing. And obviously, as you saw before, you can't earn achievements when you're playing this because you cheating bastard. Why would you do that? I think this is amazing. If you just want to screw about and, you know, just have some fun without necessarily digging into the real meat of the competitive nature of these games, you can do that. If you have a family member or perhaps, you know, like a young nephew or cousin or something like that who you want to show arcade games to but is like, oh man, this is way too hard, this is no fun, you can go, okay, well let me go turn this thing on, and they can have fun with it. They can still enjoy the game without getting, you know, browbeaten by it as these games tended to do in their original arcade form. I think this is really neat, and it's a really good way to show them off. I'm going to try to avoid using casual mode when I'm doing videos of these games, but because some of them are so hard, in order to show you guys the amount of the games I like, I may resort to this at a couple of points, so just don't hold that against me, okay? Very, very flexible, and I really, really like it. I think it's very cool, and that all of this stuff exists for every game in this package is absolutely bonkers. I love it, and I think the loving amount of attention to detail that was given to this package is incredible, and I think this definitely commands some of the money that they're asking. There have been retail retro collections that have come out that have cost more, have maybe had more games, but not all of them were very good. Most of what's in this collection is pretty good, and they certainly don't have this level of option, if anywhere near it. And, you know, people can complain about the price of this package, and there is an argument to be made there, I think, especially now that we're in the era where you can buy these packages on mobile devices for a lot less money. There's an argument to be made about the value proposition of this, but I think they've really gone out of their way to try to justify the asking price for this by saying, look at all these crazy options that we're going to give you, and the amount of things that you can do if you are a real enthusiast who really can dig into what we're offering here. I think that's very impressive. I think that's very admirable. I hope this worked out for them. I don't know if it did. I do still think it's a hard sell in this day and age, but I really applaud the effort. And as someone who really, really likes this stuff, it's I'm up for that. So that's very cool of them. So how is this going to work? We're almost done here. How is this going to work is, well, I am going to cover these games in the order in which they appear in the package. So this is not the way they were released. For example, the first game that came out in the package, the first game in Game Pack 1 was actually Black Tiger. But as you can see here, stuff is not ordered that way. Rather than leap back and forth throughout the package to try to show everybody, you know, the games in which the order in which they release them in the package doesn't really matter, I don't think. So I'm going to just cover them from sort of left to right in the menu here, since they're all out. I'm going to be covering this assuming you bought the all-in-one pack. If you didn't, you can easily go. There's a number of different lists available for this. I will actually link to, in the description for this video, I will link to a Giant Bomb page that actually lists all the packages and what came out in each one. So if you actually just want certain things and don't want the whole package, then you can go reference that and see which games are in which packs. But I'm just going to cover this from left to right here. So we're going to start with Vulgus, which I did a little bit of to demonstrate this, but I didn't really talk about the game in any meaningful way. And then we're going to end up on 1943 Kai. So there's some stuff in here that will be in a bit of a weird order, but you know, the whole point of this series, right, is that you can jump back and forth between episodes to see what interests you. So that's what we're going to do. But yeah, that is the front-end wrapper, I guess, and introduction to Capcom Arcade Cabinet. I know this has been a long video, but that's why I wanted to break it out like this, because there is a ridiculous amount to talk about in this package. And if you're someone who's really, really into this stuff, I think it's important to know, and this will be a key part of the value proposition for what they're asking for this, if you're someone who is interested in this kind of stuff to the degree that I am. So I hope you found that interesting anyway. And yeah, the next game we're going to be talking about, the first game, is going to be Vulgus. You're going to be seeing that video at the same time, so I hope you enjoy that. And it's going to take a few weeks to get through this series. There's a lot of games in here. My goal is to do the entire series front to back, but if there are some other interesting titles that either come out or, you know, that I find out about, or if it looks like people are getting a little bit tired of the constant coverage of this, I may pause it for a little while and come back. We'll see. But I am hoping to do all this sort of in one go. There is a very wide variety of games and genres in here, so if you like to see content and genres and stuff mixed up, there is going to be a lot to see in here for sure. It's not going to be all variations on the same theme. But yeah, that is Capcom Arcade Cabinet. Hope you guys enjoyed this introduction video, and if you want to start checking out the games, the first one will go up with this video, and the first ones will come out on the regular schedule. My name has been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you perhaps very, very soon.